I think we're ready to move on to Q&A. Kshitiz, should I begin?
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, very interesting question, which I've seen voiced by a lot of people. What about data security? Because wherever AI is proposed, data security is kind of assumed as a roadblock, and it feels like it's a threat. So let's answer this question first.
All right. So data security. All right. Is this a limitation? I don't want to see it as a limitation. This is a law which has been brought in, or this is a law which we all mutually endorse to make sure that there is a minimal amount of privacy in our lives, right? So we don't really want to be pushed to a limit where we are not able to make a clear thinking as per our own decision making. So in terms of AI being brought in, I don't see any kind of a threat in terms of data privacy or rules like that. If you are following the GDPR kind of a compliances, then it does make a little more sense. You have to be a little more, for now at least, you have to be a little more comprehensive in assessing to what degree are you going to utilize AI, because then there are implications involved. But otherwise, like if you don't have any GDPR compliances, which is a case for 80% plus organizations here in India, I don't think there is anything to fear in that space as of now.
Okay, that and I think I quite agree from whatever I've learned about AI, especially through Albus and Springworks.
This is Abhash here. I'll repeat the question for you, Kshitiz. So basically, the question is how important, I'm rephrasing it, how important is the involvement of a co-founder or the CEO going to be in implementing AI in L&D?
All right. So I think how important, I would give at least for now, at least 60% of weightage lies over there, and that is actually happening with any kind of a growth or learning initiative in the organization. Now, the reason why I say that, the way I look at, there are 4 personas within a learning program in the organization. So there are 4 major personas. Now, there is one persona, which is the people that are going to undergo training, which is your end user, let's say, for a platform. There is another persona where there are the level 2 leaders, which are, or managers, which are there, which are supposed to which are basically consuming the performance improved of the people as the net outcome, and then are supposed to drive the key metrics of the business. Now, that is number 2, which is whose responsibility is to find out that what training needs are required, right? And what learning program should go on within the organization. The third persona is the key influencer personas. Now, key influencer personas are like CIOs, CTOs, which are going to look at the tech stack that you are investing in as an L&D leader, which are going to also assess what is going to be the ROI, right? What are the trends, right? So these are some key aspects that these key influencers in the decision making are involved, right? And then there is the decision maker persona. Now, decision maker persona is still the CEO or the founders of the organization, if you look at it, right? If we talk about startup ecosystem, there is definitely these people, that 70 to 80% of the reinforcement of learning program or learning acumen or learning culture in your organization needs to be driven from that desk itself. So we ourselves realized this pretty early. So we created a founders office, which largely drives all the learning and cultural or value-based initiatives within the people, just to make sure that, like as soon as people join the organization, the first few things that we want them to understand is that what are the core values, what are the core beliefs and principles on which we operate our business. Because, like, I think once those are gone, there is, it's hard to ever bring them back. Like we have seen organizations die out of culture. So, looking at that, like that is very essential. So that is why I think, like leaders persona, it's way more critical as of now. I think once it matures, once the maturity, current maturity is pretty niche actually. So once it matures a little bit, in the higher maturity models, probably it will not be required. It will become more, more directly user-centric kind of a phenomenon.
Got it. Very good answer, because it has answered other 2 questions that are there as well.
Okay.
And I think very interesting aspect that, the founders office is involved in L&D. This is the first time hearing where, typically founders office sort of does a bit of what I call urgent work. So maybe, solving for things like, for example, sales ops, mark ops. Those are the sort of things that come to mind immediately when you think of founders office. But interestingly, the L&D part of it, and this also solves for. So someone has asked, sorry, just to cut you off. How do you manage L&D in a fast-paced startup? I think that's a good answer, right? Have a founders office sort of a role which can. But if you have any additional response to that, sorry.
No, I think, that actually works. If you look at it, like while you don't have a very clear formula of how it will do, like this is the first thing that you can do. I very candidly, I have been part of one organization for almost a decade now, right? Keka was 4 to 5 people when I started working, when it was the first day for here, right? So we used to fit in a room, and our founder Vijay used to, we used to talk about this entire reason of why are we even doing this, right? Whatever is being done, there were a number of companies working in that direction. They all were in losses. None of them were actually creating great solutions also. So why would we do it, right? So there was nothing available as a proof of concept to look up to and actually aim, right? So at that point of time also, till now we have the entire 20 people initially that joined our organization. We have all 20 of them working here instead, for a decade now. Now that entire thing has came down with the relationship that we were able to build with our founder itself. So even before you're in a startup, before you build your association with work or recognition or rewards that you get, the first thing that you will make a connect with is that idea, the attitude, the mindset of your founder, and then derive most of the things from that itself and scale it down actually.
Got it. Yeah. So sorry, over to you, Shambhavi, for the other two questions. Do you think, I'm rephrasing Grishma's question here, do you think L&D budgets should only be focused on your core skill or the role itself? As in, you're a developer, the L&D budget should only be used for improving your developer skill versus, should a company be investing in the employee's personal growth also?
Right.
That
So
could mean, yeah, sorry, I think you already got the question.
got it. I got the question actually, and it's a great question also to ask. So the answer of it does not really lie in the L&D as a subject. If you all I assume the most of the community would come from an HR background itself. So the answer to this question is more in performance management as a framework. Now, while if you look at employees' performance, organization performance, processes performance, there are largely three frameworks which actually drive the performance inside the organization. The first and the most prominent framework is the goals framework, right? You can call it OKRs, you can call it KRA KPI, you can call it balanced scorecard. There are n number of goal setting methodologies, n number of nomenclatures, but at the end of the day, it's basically the set of things that you're supposed to do, right, in the organization. Now, the first framework to provide you clarity as an individual is your goals. The second framework is your competency framework. Now, competencies are those set of skills and competencies which are required to do your job efficiently, right? The set of objectives or OKRs which are given to you, how will you perform on them? That comes from these competencies. Now, competencies break down into core competencies, common success competencies, common success, and other than that, there are three categories. I forgot the third one. Now, these are the competencies that we're talking about. These competencies are set of skills which are required. Now, third framework which contributes to employee performance is the core values, the values or the behaviors that the employee should inhibit to connect with people inside the organization in the right dimension, and to connect with the customers and the extroverts that the organization has. Want a certain culture, a certain reverberation in terms of values over there. Now, while for performance, all these three frameworks are essential, how shall we be investing only on developing certain technical skills, right? So the budget should be holistic in nature, where I think a lot of times, there have been quarters and years also in our organization where there have been no technical, for teams, there are no technical investments that we made. It was more on people itself, people were all over the place during the time of COVID. At that point of time, if we make any kind of a technical training program for them, they will not be in that mood to actually consume. So again, depends on your people, what they're facing, right? There is always a business situation that you are in. Now, that business situation is calling for a very specific set of trainings also, right? So always look at it with an open mind, I would suggest.
Yeah, totally makes sense. We have, by the way, folks, if you have more questions, please put them in the Q&A tab. We will take the question from Deepthi here. One of the challenges we face is that we are from a niche industry and have certain compliance requirements which most LMSs don't meet. The ones that do meet are not AI driven. Are there any plugins or additional resources which could help us integrate AI?
All right, perfect. So I think, Abbas, you guys are more of an expert on this space. You should answer this.
Yeah, no, I think there is the straightforward question here, which is, are there plugins available? But I think the bigger question, and we have already shared a list of tools, and we can, help with that as well. But I think the bigger question for you here, Kshitiz, is One is, of course, the compliance part of it, which, there is obviously something to do there. But I almost feel like the question is, we have to have AI in L&D, right? Like somehow we need to integrate AI. And this goes back to the point that you made that, somehow we are trying to force fit solutions force fit problems for a solution that exists, which is AI. So, I would love for your perspective on that, of course, AI is an enabler. Of course, it is going to be a baseline, feature in almost all HR tools, maybe in the next 6 or 8 months. But should that be a consideration at this point?
So I think it's a very I have a very simple belief system over here, and this is something which I have been operating in life, moving for quite some time now, which is that a lot of times, will AI stay? Will AI evolve? Will AI kill jobs? So n number of questions around n number of corners. See, the way I look at it, change is a constant, right? In 1920s, 1940s, like when the industrial revolution was happening, at that point of time, the entire community was fearful about losing jobs because the machines will take over, right? And the machines will deliver most of the things. And what will be the point of human labor at the end of it, right? Probably there is no point of having human labor in the first place, and that is the possibility that we are trying to actually explore through AI. There could be probably that era where I really don't need to work. I can, sit in a farm and really use the best practices, and even the commerce might lose its essence, right, over a period of time. Time might become that currency which is most valued, other than any other currency which exists. So in terms of fear, there is nothing to fear. It is a change which is a possibility today. Now the best use cases will automatically come once we keep on investing human resources and companies keep on working or pushing into that direction. So I think, on that dimension, this is what I will stick to for now. So nothing to be fearful about, actually.
Yes, there is not much to be fearful about, and I agree with you there. There are things that as humans are not supposed to be doing, right? Even if I'm not trying to here differentiate between the moniker of white collar, blue collar, and all, there are so many things that that the human mind is meant for creativity and using its intelligence, and there is so much time that we spent in just menial work, right? So that's what AI is trying
So
to
what
solve
Elon
for.
Musk said, I very agree to that also. Like, we might be optimizing something which should not exist in the first place. Looking at AI as a solution, I think, probably we might end up a lot of chases which are our current reality as of now, in the next 10 to 15 years from here.
Deepti, for you, like Kshitiz said, yes, we are better placed to answer this, and the answer is slightly tough. As in, there is no straightforward answer to this, but yeah, the plugin method is possible. So what has happened now is ChatGPT allows you to build your own agents, which is essentially you can build your own GPT, right? Obviously, this works with ChatGPT plus only. Which is to say that, so for example, we built something with an agent called Posh GPT, which, if any of you subscribe to the HR Brain Pickings newsletter, which will go out tomorrow, we have posted it there. Obviously, it is only available to people who have ChatGPT Plus. But what essentially can happen now is, for any small use case, you can feed the existing information to ChatGPT, and you can create essentially a plugin, as you're calling it. And that is the right word, plugin, or an extension. In terms of Chrome web browser, you have extensions, right? So, and you can start asking questions to them. So for example, Posh GPT, when I say, it will have answers not just for as in, it will be very specific to prevention of sexual harassment in an Indian context, right? Because the only information that has been fed to it is all the posh compliance and documents related to the Indian context. So that sort of a plugin is possible. Obviously, it's not very simple to build, but it's also not very complex to build. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't immediately, I mean, I cannot give you a URL. So in that way, it's not a very useful answer, but it is possible. What you are actually thinking in terms of plugins, that's a very good thought process. And yes, it should be possible if you can reach out to someone who can,
I
do
was
this.
looking at one of your videos earlier, Abbas. I think it's a couple of months now, where you were training the community on GPT-4 plugins which are there, like the
Yes.
defined plugins which are there.
Yes.
So over there, you said something which I very candidly still remember, which was that it's an intern which is available at $20, right? It's always good to have,
Yeah.
right? To a degree where probably might not be able to do everything that you need, but still a great resource to have at all virtues.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this exact same concept of interns, and now, I mean, obviously intern is the simpler term to understand, but now there is consensus on this. These are being called AI agents, right? So agents that will do a specific task for you. And this is exactly what we are going to reveal along with our report on December 6th. In the PST timings and December 7th IST timing. So those links I have already shared in the chat. Do attend that. I think we will be able to solve for this sort of a use case, Deepti, and for many other use cases. So essentially what we are building is an IT employee help desk experience built for you, right? So it will sort of solve, I mean, we have already built it. We are sort of doing a report release and a demo around it on that particular day.